Hi, my name's Paul Newnham. I'm the director of the Sustainable Development Goal 2 Advocacy Hub and the facilitator of the Chef's Manifesto. It's absolutely wonderful to be with you here at the Hunger Free Community Summit, hosted by the Alliance to End Hunger, a great partner of the SDG 2 Advocacy Hub. In the first part of today's session, what I'd like to do is review the advocacy approach to SDG 2, the key advocacy moments coming up in 2021 around SDG 2, and share how I believe we can together bring more people into the fight for hunger-free communities. So I'm going to just jump straight in. But as we start, we all know that the current pandemic that the world faces has really highlighted and brought to the front some of the challenges around hunger. And our food system, and some of the things that previously were a little invisible to some are now very visible to all. And this is something that creates a very key moment for us as a community to really step up and respond. So globally around the world, there is enough food to feed everyone. And this is something that I always like to remind people, because sometimes we have this idea that there's not enough food, but there is actually enough food. It's just not getting to the right places. Out of the food that we have in the world, we also have a very unbalanced food system. 4 crops are contributing to 60% of all calories we consume. And as part of the Green Revolution and some of the work that happened to really grow and increase our productivity, this is one of those unintended consequences. There's 30,000 edible plant species around the world, and yet at the moment we're just eating a diet focused on 150 crops, and this has a real impact on our nutrition and our planet and our environment. At the same time, the proportion of global population undernourished is going down. The proportion of adults who are obese is going up, and so we see these shifts happening, which can be seen as paradoxical in the system. At the moment, there's 1 in 3 people suffering from malnutrition in the world, and impacts like the pandemic are only going to exacerbate some of these issues. Our food system is contributing to climate change, and you see this in a range of ways. Agriculture is producing 30% of greenhouse gas emissions. It occupies 40% of global land use, and it's consuming 70% of the fresh water that we use. And so the way we produce and eat food is going to determine if we achieve the global goals. The global goals are a plan that was agreed to by every country in the world in 2015 to address over a 15-year period by 2030 some big goals. And each of these goals has a connection to the food and agriculture agenda, and thus this topic that we're here to talk to today, whether it's about the links between education and nutrition, whether it's the links around agriculture, like gender and land ownership, or climate change and agriculture. There's these connections where the food system connects in so many different ways. And so if we are going to achieve these 17 big goals that we set just over 5 years ago, we are going to need to see some significant engagement around our food system. And this is something that is starting to really come forward. We're starting to see a lot more global attention. We're starting to see a lot more global dialogue around the impacts and the potential for change that the food system brings. One of the key moments that's coming up in 2021 is the United Nations Food Systems Summit. This is a summit that was called for by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to really raise the ambition around our food system, to increase our understanding of the issues we must solve, and set a course to radically transform our food system. He appointed Dr. Agnes Kilabata as the special envoy for the summit, and she is now leading a secretariat to bring together this conversation and this summit. In the summit, they're looking at a structure for coming up with big bets, for coming up with initiatives that we can support. And these 5 action tracks that you can see on the screen are 5 of the kind of conversations that are happening. And each has a group of people leading it, and then a number of people engaged. And so you'll see ensuring access to safe and nutritious food for all is obviously very connected to a hunger-free vision. And so this is something that is a key moment, it's a key opportunity to really look at game-changing initiatives that we can drive forward. As part of this summit, there's a number of ways for people to engage. One of them is they're calling on people to become food system heroes. And you can sign up on the website where you can see that you'll be kept in contact. You'll be able to highlight the work that you're doing, but also be able to take actions which contribute to the food system. Another way that they've really looked at engagement is to create the Food Systems Summit dialogues. And this is a standardized approach for diverse food system practitioners to engage and connect. It's a space where participants can discuss topics aligned to the summit themes, and an opportunity for participants to explore options, expose challenges, and debate solutions. And there's going to be 3 levels of these dialogues. There's going to be between October 2020 and May 2021, in the time that we're in now, these member state dialogues happening at the government level. There's also going to then be a range of global dialogues at high-level international events. And then there's this opportunity for independent dialogues, which anyone can organize. They're going to create a toolkit that is accessed by individuals and organizations to establish multi-stakeholder dialogues. And this can be done within any local food system. And dialogues follow the summit principles. Their findings will be posted on the Dialogue Gateway website. So this is a way, if you're running an organization, a community that's fighting around hunger free, that you would be able to run a dialogue in line with the toolkit and the principles that are given, and then have that voice be heard as part of the United Nations Food Systems Summit. So if you want to get involved, check out these websites. There's a whole range of content there. If you're on Twitter and Instagram, I encourage you to follow these accounts and really keep in touch with the Food Systems Summit. The next area is something that the SDG2 Advocacy Hub is really helping to drive, which is called the Good Food for All narrative. And the Good Food for All is really about trying to create a fresh way of talking about Sustainable Development Goal 2. The opportunities and challenges that is complementary to this zero hunger frame. By having a food focus, we shift away from sometimes the technical conversation and are able to inspire the public and investors. And so we've created 8 pillars, which I'll show you shortly, which connect the Sustainable Development Goal 2 to interrelated topics. And the intent is that through this platform, we're going to encourage the inclusion of diverse voices. And it really focuses back on equity at the heart of the conversation and how we build back better from COVID-19. So our vision statement is to achieve zero hunger and create a world with good food for all. So we're really trying to lean into this vision of where we're heading. It talks about the fact that we all have things that we're fighting for: progress, people, and planet. That good food is a foundation to everything, providing the energy needed to fight for a better future for everyone, everywhere. And that without good food, no other progress is possible. And so we came up with this tagline of good food for all. I've got a short video which I'm going to show, and I'll also send across the link in case there's any issues with the streaming. So as you can see, this narrative is really about trying to bring good food to life. And it has these 8 pillars of good food, beginning with farmers, that it's nutritious, that it saves lives, that it's vulnerable to disruption, that it's not always a choice, that it powers people and economies, and that good food makes progress possible, and that good food is about love. So there's ways to get involved. We have a whole range of white label resources to help organizations engage, including video animation, social assets, banner stands, t-shirts, all this kind of stuff, all the normal thing. The idea is this is meant to be something that supplements and connects the work that you're doing to a larger global effort. And that through doing that, we can all kind of drive forward a good food for all narrative from the different parts and contributions that we make. So if you want to get involved, you can bring it to life. We have suggestions on our site for different activists and engagement. We also obviously have a social media platform in terms of getting engaged. We're on Instagram. We also have our website, which has all the white label resources, as we call them, and also follow the hashtag #GoodFoodForAll. So I now want to talk to you a little bit about another community that the SDG2 Advocacy Hub has helped to facilitate, and it's called the Chef's Manifesto. And the Chef's Manifesto was designed for chefs by chefs, and we created it through an online outreach and a series of workshops with over 130 chefs from 38 countries co-creating the Chef's Manifesto. And what we did was we took the 17 SDGs and we came out with 8 thematic areas in which chefs can make a difference. And so this is a for chefs by chefs platform that now has 8 areas under which we've created an action plan. And so in this, you can see direct relationships between the ingredients grown with respect for the earth and its oceans, the SDGs, and what chefs can actually do. And it's very practical and pragmatic. And so we go through this protection of biodiversity, improved animal welfare, and we talk about how they can lead by example, how they can use their purchasing power, investing in livelihoods, getting to know ingredients, spreading the word, how you get engaged in this. Waste is obviously a big one, and valuing natural resources comes as a prelude into understanding the challenges we have with waste. And celebrating local and seasonal food, focusing on plant-based ingredients, education on food safety and healthy diets, and then nutritious food that is accessible and affordable for all, which connects really well with the hunger-free conversation. It's really around how do you be a community food champion, spread the word, engage people around that. So this is a bit of a snapshot of some of the work that I would just like to highlight that I believe we can engage in. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to invite a guest to come and join us, and we're going to have a second part of the session where we talk with Chef Sue Milliken. So I'm just going to grab her and bring her in.
White collar never fit clean on me. Only thing nice is the chains on me. Playing dirty, trying to switch on me. Only thing pretty is the...
Wherefore art thou from?
Where's it going?
What is it?
Is it in season?
How far has this traveled?
Is that happy?
You sure you need it?
As chefs, we ask questions about food.
I've been out here wildin'. Angel on my shoulder saying about it.
Why so much plastic?
We sit between the food you eat
And how it gets to you.
I swear to God, if my
So we're getting together
from all countries,
all parts of the industry,
All walks of life.
to bring positive change to the kitchen.
We're talking soil,
carbon,
waste,
diversity,
Biodiversity.
Water.
accessibility.
and what have we got to say for ourselves?
Plenty.
This is the Chef's Manifesto.
I've been out here wildin'.
So for the second part of our conversation, it's a pleasure to welcome Mary Sue Milliken, who has been a member of the Chef's Manifesto since we begun. And so it's great to have her here and such an culinary icon from the US. So great to make some time at dinner time, which is, I think, a perfect time for us to be talking. So can you just introduce yourself and maybe give us a little snapshot of some of the work that you do and how you got involved with the manifesto?
Absolutely. Well, my name's Mary Sue Milliken. I own restaurants in Southern California and in Las Vegas. And I've been cooking since I was 17, which is definitely over 4 decades. But I've owned my own restaurant since I was 23 years old in 1981. And basically, I think, I have learned so much, and it's been a wonderful career for me. And after I had 2 sons in the 90s, I really started to get more involved in advocacy and in activism around the food system and how we can ensure that the world that I'm passing on to my kids and my grandkids and great grandkids is, something as beautiful and wonderful as I was handed from my parents. So when I heard about Chef's Manifesto, I was very excited because I like to take a big view. I like to really go up to 30,000 feet and look at the whole thing. And so that's what I love about the manifesto. It's very global and international. And I've through you, Paul, and all the chefs you've assembled, I've met some dear, wonderful people. I've learned a lot and made some great connections.
That's great. So you talk about, you've obviously got an amazing experience over the years, and the world's changed and shifted as quite dramatically, and continues to. So how do you personally, in your kitchen, your community, through your advocacy as a chef, contribute to the global goals and the fight for hunger-free communities?
Well, I was introduced to an organization called Share Our Strength about 25 years ago. And as a young up-and-coming chef, I didn't have a lot of resources, but I loved their idea that they could organize it so that I could share my strength and they would turn that into funding and finances that could be raised to end hunger. Basically, it's a hunger fighting organization. And I joined the board about 20 years ago, and we started the No Kid Hungry campaign. We've done a lot of, I'm the only chef on the board, but we do a lot of work with chefs. We have the chef cycle where we all go 300 miles in 3 days and raise lots of money. And we do, of course, tastings and dinners. But I think, the work that I do with Share Our Strength has been so great because we've been able to mobilize big chef communities of chefs and really also expand a little bit globally, which is great. We do some funding in Guatemala, in India, in Haiti, where we're able to, and Ethiopia, where we're able to kind of share best practices with, I was just on a trip in January to India with Share Our Strength, where I learned so much about school feeding programs, which is what we have focused on in the United States, is connecting children with nutritious food through schools. And in India, they do it so gracefully and amazingly without any packaging, no plastic and waste, and it was really an eye-opener for me. So, and then we also shared ideas about how the chef community in India could really get behind raising their voices around making sure that every child gets the nutrition they need to grow and thrive and be good citizens.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think that connection is really something that jumps out to me, Mary Sue, about the connections between what we do domestically, where we find ourselves, and then what happening globally, and the potential learnings across those borders. And that's something that the Chef's Manifesto really is about, is to try and say, none of us have all the answers, but together we can kind of make a difference. And so the Chef's Manifesto has these thematic areas, which we kind of talked about, these 8 areas. And within these areas, I'm really interested in just hearing a little bit about what you see as some of the priorities and how they connect around particularly area 3 and 8. So it's investment in livelihoods and accessibility and affordability of nutritious food. How do they tie in, do you see, to the work that you're doing? You've touched on it a little bit.
Well, I'm also on the board of the James Beard Foundation, which is a newer position. I've only been on the board for about 3.5 or 4 years. And it's really been interesting to, work together with so many chefs and do a lot of trainings around how to be a strong advocate, how to really raise our voices. And I think that we've also spent quite a bit of time thinking about women and people of color and how to make sure that every part of the food system that we're supporting from farm to fork are, have a way of doing that's equal. And we're really more consciously looking at, how many women-owned businesses do I buy from? How many people of color do I have on my staff? I think that those things are really becoming more and more important. And we're raising that issue with the Beard Foundation and with all the chefs that are part of our network as a way to, really make a difference and, be really more mindful and conscious about how we purchase things and how we populate our worlds and our food system, basically. So I think it's very, there's that, and then all of the work we do to fight hunger in the schools, and with, we do a lot of lobbying in Washington, D.C., where, we can make a bigger impact with bigger amounts of dollars, more like millions and billions than the smaller kind of money that we can raise. And I think that that's been also a really great way to, see things happen. I love the fact that I can meet with my representatives or my Congress people here in LA or Washington, DC, and I might get a call 6 months later saying, I'd like you to be at a press conference with me because we're going to launch, a new, I had this experience when I was lobbying, this was quite a few years ago. I was lobbying to have the antibiotics that are in our food system increasingly, to lobby against that, all the livestock and animals that are over, fed antibiotics, and then the resistance. And literally I was so pleased because the House representatives in my district here in Los Angeles called me and said he wanted to do a press release at my restaurant. And he said, I'm sorry that the bill's a little more watered down than I would have liked, but we're making progress. And so as a chef, I feel really empowered to, stay really focused on the things. And I love the fact that the global goals give us all this roadmap. We don't have to invent an idea about how to do these things. It's there for us. And we have, ways to measure our progress, and we have really specific goals. And that for me is like a North Star.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So before we kind of wrap up, why do you think chefs are so important to have in this conversation around hunger and the food system?
Well, chefs are admired and trusted now.
Yeah.
It's been, an amazing kind of era for chefs because they're rock stars
Yeah.
in many countries. And we're also hospitalitarians, I like to say. We're very, very committed to taking care of people.
Mm.
And so how the food systems intersect with potential solutions for the climate crisis, that those things are all very much top of mind for chefs. And we have that kind of influence in our communities. So I think that now is a time for chefs to really, really mobilize and have a lot of impact. And I think that, so many of the systems that have been informing the way we cook and eat today are just antiquated and they're not going to work. Yeah. And so who better than chefs to really lead the change that has to happen in order for us to, leave our children and grandchildren a place that, we're proud of.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mary Sue. It's so great to be able to connect with you. And it's so great to be able to tap into some of the insights that you've had as an advocate, as a chef at the national and international level. And so just want to say a super big thanks and encouragement to continue doing what you're doing. I mean, it's great. We've got a long way to go, but we are getting there. And that's, what the congressman said to you. It is, we've got to chip away at it. And so that's what we're doing. So
thank you, Paul.
Yeah,
the best.
No problem. Thank you. And so if you're watching and you're interested in checking out the Chef's Manifesto, have a look at chefsmanifesto.com. Check out our Instagram at Chef's Manifesto. There's also a few projects we have in the pipeline, including a podcast and some case studies that's going to be launching early next year on crop biodiversity. So stay tuned and check it out. But thank you, Mary Sue, and thank you for having us.
Thank you.